of the Weimar Plus Foreign Ministers meeting, which in the second part will also see participation from Ukrainian Foreign Minister. The news is that we're also joined by NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and whom I would like to thank for accepting our invitation. After our session, we approved a document in which we highlight the importance of the NATO community, of the unity of Europe, because the first clear and strong political message we need to send out to build peace, including in Ukraine, is to have a united Atlantic alliance with a united Europe who cooperates to strengthen security and defense in Europe, from Ukraine right across to Portugal. And we strongly reaffirm our unconditional support to Ukraine that has been a victim of an aggression, and we want international law to be complied with, and we want to reach 30 days, at least 30 days ceasefire, so that we can then launch a negotiation. So we have a strong, cohesive commitment. We have discussed a number of cooperation-related issues, including European cooperation. We have also discussed security spending and also discussed requests from NATO. Italy is in favor of increasing its defense spending, and I am certain that before the Hague summit we will come to an agreement. I think we're on the right track. As you know, we need a bit more time to meet our NATO targets, but we're also asking for more flexibility throughout that process. I want to be optimistic, and I think that eventually we will come to an agreement so that the Hague summit can turn into a huge success. As in the documents that we approved, we also mention the Middle East, and we call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, and we also call for the release of hostages that are being held by Hamas. So, from my perspective, this was a very fruitful meeting. And at our next roundtable, we will go into even more detail about the Ukrainian situation with support that we all want to provide jointly to this country that is a victim of an unjust aggression. And that's why we are encouraged the Ukrainian Foreign Minister to give us an overview of the situation so that he can provide feedback and he can go back to Kiev with support from all of us. And I think that is a priority. This priority for Italy's foreign policy, but also for the EU and the UK and NATO policies. Support a friendly country like Ukraine, because this way we can achieve a just peace, and that also entails territorial independence from Ukraine. So thank you all very much, and I'd like to give the floor to Minister Sikorski.
Thank you, Antonio, for inviting us to this magnificent place. And I'm pleased to see that the big EU format initiated in Warsaw last November is serving its purpose. Close coordination of our activities in the European and transatlantic circle remains imperative in the current geopolitical situation. The UK's participation is a particular bonus. Our meeting takes place mere 2 weeks before the NATO summit in The Hague, as has already been mentioned. We should achieve firm commitments to boost our defense and security spending. It is key to increase the European allies' engagement and to strengthen the European pillar of our alliance. Cooperation and complementarity between the EU and NATO is crucial. We have also spoken about the need to reinforce Europe's defense. Europe must have autonomous military capabilities. developed while using the European defense industry's potential to full advantage. Poland, spending 4.7% of its GDP on defense, is already doing its part. And of course, Ukraine's security and stability are vital. My heart goes out to the brave soldiers of Ukraine who are facing a Russian onslaught right now, and I grieve for the civilians that are being killed while Mr. Putin talks peace. I'm glad that my partners share the belief that, and I note the determination to further support Ukraine. It is essential that Ukraine be able to hold future peace negotiations from a position of strength. The strategy of Putin's regime remains unchanged and is based on feigning diplomatic efforts, escalating demands, and launching barbarous attacks on Ukraine's civilian population. These are classic Muscovite tactics and tricks, and we should not fall for them. I'm sure that there is no alternative to a close cooperation with the United States and coordination of actions within the coalition of the willing. Any and all forms of pressure on Russia must be used, including by tightening the sanctions regime and developing our military capabilities. Our unity and determination are instrumental in forcing Russia to end this horrible war. I have not changed my opinion on the fundamental issues. Euro-Atlantic security depends on how we handle the Russian threat. European and US interests remain complementary in this regard. Stopping Russia remains in the long-term interest of the US. Russia's defeat in Ukraine would be a victory for the US and in particular for President Trump. I am pleased that the meeting was also attended by both the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and the NATO Secretary General. I hope that our dialogue will continue, and therefore I invited my partners to another EU's Big Five meeting, which should be held in Warsaw in late July. Thank you.
Prende ora la parola il segretario generale della NATO, Mark Rutte. Secretary General, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you, Antonio, for organizing this event and also for inviting the EU and NATO. Basically, let me be very brief. Three big issues today, and all these three issues will also be central to the summit, the NATO summit in 2 weeks. One, we need to ramp up our defense spending. We heard the German Chief of Defense a couple of days ago saying that by 2029, by 2030, Russia could be ready to try something against NATO territory. So we are safe now, we are not safe 3 to 5 years from now, so we have to spend more. Luckily, it is not just in 2014 where we did this. We thought of a number and then we agreed to the number. No, the new spending target is really rooted in facts, a deep study we have done collectively on where the gaps are in our capabilities, how we have to fill them, and the defense ministers agreed on that last Thursday, and now it's up to the leaders to agree on the extra spending needed to make that possible. A second, spending is one thing, but we also need, and that is the second big issue, the defense industrial production. And we are not producing enough. And this is really keeping me up at night, making sure that we not only ramp up spending, but also ramp up the defense industrial production. As you know, when a country now orders a Patriot system, it will be delivered in 10 years. The question then is, in the morning or the afternoon, why does it matter? Because in the afternoon the F-35 will arrive. This is now the state of play. So we have fantastic industrial companies in the US, in all over Europe, in Canada, but they are not producing at speed. So we need more shifts, more production lines. We do not have to see an increase in prices. And I was really impressed by the UK defense review, which came out, I think it was last week, Friday, or early this week, basically stating that they want to build 6 new ammunition factories. And this is what we need all over Europe, because we are not producing, and particularly ammunition is crucial. And then thirdly, Ukraine. Because we need to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position to, one, maintain the ongoing conflict with Russia, the unprovoked Russian aggression against Ukraine, but also to be in the best possible position when a long-term ceasefire / a peace deal arises, to make sure that Putin will never ever try this again. And all these issues are discussed today. Really, I think this is very important, and this is basically a great build-up towards the summit in The Hague. Early next week, the G7, the week after the NATO summit, and there will also be an EU summit in that week. So this is NATO standing united, and I think that's a crucial message. So thank you again, Antonio.
Ora l'alto rappresentante per gli affari esteri UE, Kaja Kallas.
Thank you. It's good to be here again. Thank you, Antonio, for inviting us. And these topics are very crucial. And I would add, actually, to what Mark said, it's going to be a super week when it also starts with the Foreign Affairs Council in Europe and then continues with the NATO summit as well as the European Council. So a lot of important decisions coming from there. As the ministers already emphasized today, it is clear that our commitment to our defense is stronger than ever. That means also stronger Europe. Our 800 billion euro rearm initiative is a crucial step towards enhancing European security. Next week, the European Union will also propose greater flexibility for government defense procurement and improved access to financing. This has been one of these two topics have been one of the issues that the defense industry is raising to make it more agile. And because why we are doing all these things? Because a stronger Europe also means stronger NATO and a more reliable partner also to our allies. And of course, we're going to discuss also Ukraine today, and Russia is carrying the largest strikes against Ukrainian civilians since the war began. And while Russia is dangerous, we all know that, its behavior is also predictable. This means that Russia responds to strength and nothing else. Not empty slogans, not just talk, but strength. And that's why we have proposed a new sanctions package. Every sanction weakens Russia's ability to fight this war. This week we proposed sanctions on Russian banks and energy sector as well as military industry. Russia has lost billions of euros in oil revenues. Its sovereign wealth fund declined by 6 billion last month only. So Russia is bleeding cash. But we need to cut the flow of cash to Moscow's army even further, because we want this war to stop. And this war will only stop if the pressure is there. In parallel, of course, we support Ukraine. In 2025, the European Union provided the most military support since the beginning of the war. But our ambition should be and to do even more, because Ukraine is defending itself and Russia shows no signs of stopping. The stronger Ukraine is on the battlefield today, the stronger they are on around the negotiation table when it comes to the place when Russia is actually ready to talk. Thank you.
Prende ora la parola il ministro degli esteri dell'Ucraina, Andriy Sybiha. Minister, the floor is yours.
Доброго дня всім. Я дуже радий сьогодні бути в Римі. Дякую, Антоніо, за запрошення. Для мене це сьогодні надзвичайно важливо і почесно бути в колі найближчих союзників. І я вдячний всім попереднім спікерам за сильні слова підтримки і солідарності. Italy is playing a very important role in its efforts to enhance transatlantic relations and for the recovery of Ukraine. Next month in Rome, we will have a very important Ukraine Recovery Conference. And let me seize this opportunity to thank Italy for its leadership in organizing this conference. We are preparing for this conference
conference with new projects. Today in Rome, we will be talking about peace, security for peace and Europe as a whole, to counteract the aggression of Russia, to counteract Russia's measures. Today, in the cost, we're talking about 1 million people who have died, who have been wounded in terms of Russian people. And Putin has claimed the lives of so many soldiers, but has not attained its targets. And only through pressure can Putin go to a negotiating table. So I would like to inform all allies what is happening on the battlefield. Within a week, Ukraine has accepted ceasefire, but Russia does not accept this ceasefire, and it is avoiding a meeting with Zelensky. Russia will go in Istanbul, but it comes up with unrealistic demands because they haven't changed their rhetoric. They are showing that there's no flexibility. The U.S. would expect these demands to be acceptable, to be met. So all of this confirms that the diplomacy, the peacemaking diplomacy, does not work with Russia because Russia does not accept peace, and only through pressure can we persuade Russia to pursue peace. The economic pressure. To this morning, it was not nice to read on the newspapers some countries which were, when talking about Russia, they were wishing well to Putin because it was the national day. But I cannot agree with this attitude. I mean, this is an aggressor. How can you send your greetings to an aggressor? I was to the city close to the neighboring, to the frontier line. And I was there with my Lithuanian colleague, whom I would like to thank for his bravery. And with my colleague, we just saw what is the Russian terror and Russia's response to all peace proposals. The force of terror. They want to make people fearful. I went to school. The children go to school. And they have to go in the basement. And they have a dream. The dream is peace. So when we ask these children, what do they want? They all wish for peace, a just peace. They all wish for a lasting peace. I've also went to this hospital, the obstetrician unit, and if strategic units are attacked, well, Russia attacks civilian bridges, women giving birth, and they're giving birth underground, and they shouldn't deserve this. So I would like to thank our partners for all their support. And let me also add that every day in Kherson, because of drone attacks, 20 to 30 people are wounded or killed, and then ambulances come to rescue these people, and their civilians are hit. They hit children and hospitals. So we want to end this war. We want to end this war this year. And the pressure on the aggressor is very important if we are to achieve peace, to open up negotiations for peace. The economic bloc, the economic pressure has to be exerted, and that has to include sanctions against the banks, energy prices, to reduce energy prices, to freeze assets, Russian assets. We'll have to ramp up the defense systems in long-term investments for defense industry. Ukraine must become independent, and on the occasion of the NATO summit, we have to say that the main focus is what we said today, the need for unity. I would like to thank all our allies for their support. We have to be very clear on what needs to be done in the future. We do count on our allies for peace, for security, and for Europe. Let me seize this opportunity to thank Antonio Tajani for today's meeting. Thank you.
Il Ministro degli Esteri tedesco Johann Wadefull.
No. German's Foreign Minister John Bartha has the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, Antonio, thank you for inviting us at this amazing location here in Rome. Try to look at the ceilings to enjoy the images, the painting, these wonderful paintings. So today's event testifies to Europe's resolve and cohesiveness, and also to those of the EU, the Transatlantic Alliance. And we are proving this. And what proves this is the presence of Secretary General Mr. Rutte. We want to ensure that NATO summit is a clear sign that we have a cohesive and compact alliance. Secretary General has prepared amazingly this summit. Germany is willing to support his proposals. We are not only looking at the potential dangers, but we are also prepared to react, and this is extremely urgent because Russia's devastating attacks have once again proved that Putin is not willing to negotiate, but rather he is looking for a warfare solution in Ukraine, and the West cannot accept this. We cannot turn a blind eye on this. We cannot accept appeasement. So our support to Ukraine, both political and military, is unwavering. For the past few months, we have seen that Ukraine is willing to negotiate peace. On the other hand, Putin is still not willing to compromise, to make any compromising. He's keeping his basic demands. Diplomacy is just, he's paying lip service to diplomacy. But we cannot accept that. We want to increase pressure. We want to levy more sanctions on the energy industry, and we will do everything that we can to make sure those sanctions are not circumvented. The message is clear. Imperialism and those who pursue imperialism, those who pursue war, will pay a high price for it. And this has been mentioned already in Europe. We need to be able to act. We need to step up our defense capabilities. This should not be something theoretical. It is, let's be clear about this. We need security. We need operational defense force and an effective defense force. And we have seen today that there is the political will to act together. Security is not something we should be taken for granted. That's why the European Initiative for Defense and increasing cooperation in procurement and training and interoperability are important. And this is not so much to make a difference with NATO, but rather this should be complementary and to become a strong pillar as part of the alliance, because that's the only way for us to make sure that this transatlantic ceiling can be steady, can be solid. So we also talked about the Western Balkans, the Black Sea and Africa. We need to work there as well. We need to prevent crises. We need to have strategic partnerships in place, and we need to make an impact in foreign policies. It's also about reconstruction. So the Ukraine Recovery Conference arranged by Italy and that will take place in July will be cornerstone, and we are really pleased to we're really looking forward to be back in Rome on that occasion. Europe has shown it has character, it has taken responsibility, and today's meeting proves that we are willing to defend what unites us. We are willing to prepare what is most dear to us, that is the freedom of our citizens. Thank you.